Blessings in Jesus' name. Blessings in Yeshua's name. So I have a question for you. Do you expect to get anything of value from the pigs as you walk through the sty? You see, well, I woke up this morning, as per usual. Satan and his ghouls are trying to torment the preachers. But what they actually try to do is engage you in a sort of a discussion of thought, because they're tracking your mind. But because Satan is desperate here in this situation, because he's been totally exposed, because I was a Freemason. So what he's trying to do here is save some face, which of course only causes him to deface, because that's who he is. He's putrefaction, he's a decay, a decomposition of the body, he's death. So there's nothing good ever going to come from there. It's like looking into a sewage tank. You're only ever going to see feces and decomposition. Satan is a sewage tank. You're never going to get anything of value out of that. Nothing. You know, people might say, well, you can spread manure and, you know. The only thing you're going to get from a putrefaction is putrefaction. The only thing you're going to get from death is decomposition. It doesn't have wholesome properties. It is decay. When we're talking about the spirit. So, Satan's demons are basically the vehicles of decomposition. So if you were to take death, its principles, its function, its fundamentals, and put it in a person, that's what a demon is. It's nothing. It's actually nothing. I know that sounds like a contradiction, but a demon is effectively nothing, personified. Jesus said, if you have not love, you have nothing. So a demon is nothing. They don't have love. They throw shapes, but they're hunting tactics. They're manipulators. Witches and wizards, they're not people in the true sense. They just have person very loosely. So their sole function is to decompose. So everything a demon does is designed to tear apart. That's what it is. A decomposition vehicle. Once you get that into your head, when it speaks, it's doing nothing but agitating. And God allows that agitation for the removal of dirt. Because whenever you're going to scrub something, you have to agitate the surface to dislodge the dirt so that it can be scraped away or cleaned away. So God is allowing the agitation, He allows the torment, not because He just wants you to suffer, but He's establishing many things by that agitation. Cleansing, chastisement, discipline. You're learning a lesson from it. The lesson is, there's nothing of value in this world. Nothing. And you become aware what the Bible means when it says, what God means when He says, when He's talking about the devil, He says, the one who was and is no more, yet still is, and is going away to destruction. In other words, the devil is no more what he was. In actuality, he's no more, because he's devoid of love, and the only drive behind him is to destroy. So he's not a person of value. There's nothing in him of good. And in the truest sense or definition of a person, he's not one. So that's what hell is. Hell is absent of people, but it has persons. And that's, you really can't get your mind around that until you've been long enough exposed to them and their torments and their shenanigans to really get to the bottom of what that means. You can understand it in theory, in principle, but when you experience it on the level of being tormented systematically by them, you truly get to understanding that their whole person is dedicated to decomposition and destruction. They've been reassigned, so to speak. Their person has been reassigned. So they're now vehicles of destruction. Little vehicles, little machines going to and fro, trying to pick apart and decompose. Like if you had a physical body that was decomposing, it would get stinky, it would get pus, it would maybe go stiff, it would inflame. It depends on its environment, of course, but then what happens? The cell starts to be decomposed by what's in the body. So it's actually the body is decomposing itself. So the enzymes and the bacteria and all of that live in the body, once the body dies, become the vehicles of its decomposition and division. So there are those three mechanisms: corruption, division, decay, or decay and division. So that's all happening at once, and that's pretty much what hell is. But the body still has some appearance of being intact, even while the decomposition is occurring, or has begun. And that's what you're now seeing. They're decomposing society under the sheath of a flesh, behind a concealing scaffolding. They're beginning the decomposition process. And it's happening with terms like presumptively constitutional, where they're saying you must presume something lawful, even though they haven't bothered to make sure it is in check and go through the processes of ratification. They're just telling you to obey things that may be against your own written law, under a threat of imprisonment if you don't. So this is serious treason, but they're doing it now under the surface and trying to get away with it. They're doing it even through the seat of president, where they're saying we don't have to test the constitutionality of a bill before we enact it. Who in their right mind would allow that as a mechanism of government? Who would even motion for that as a mechanism of legislature? The very constitution of the country is being ignored when writing bills and enacting legislations. Nobody in their right mind, but that's because the cabal of Satan, Freemasonry, has entered into government, and they're now beginning the decomposition process, which is all they know how to do. It's the only thing they can do, because they are vehicles of destruction, decomposition, decay and corruption. That's what happens when a body's been decomposed. And metaphorically speaking, that's what they're trying to do to this country and many others simultaneously. So that there's so much happening, you don't know where to look. It would be like whack-a-mole. You'd have so many corruptions and unfruitful works to expose that you'd be doing nothing else. You'd be like butter over too much bread, and that's the way they've gone about it. Because that's all they know how to do. So all of their acumen, all of their intelligence, which ultimately results as stupidity, because all they're seeking to do is destroy, and that's stupid. So it's a stupid act. So destruction and decay and corruption are all the mechanisms of decomposition. The body is corrupted by death, begins to putrefy, to decompose, to decay. And then that decay leads to the division of the cell, the division of the body, and the body goes back to the dust over time. It's a relatively quick process once it gains momentum. But again, it starts before you would even recognize it necessarily in the body. So these demons are loosely people. I mean, they're loosely to be considered people. And Satan is truly worthless. Actually, their whole fight is one of a psychological fight. So what they do is they set up things in your mind, things they know they can already in your perception violate, and they try to get you to commit to those things which they know they can violate psychologically, so that they can violate them before you, giving you the impression that they're in control. It's like they get you to commit to something so that they can violate it and make you feel as though they're dominating you. But there's no such thing occurring. It's all psychological. Because they're trying to get you to conform to their will in your own mind. Because they know they can't actually violate your will. They've got to lead you to do it. Now that might seem silly. They've got to lead you to do the thing that they would do by violating your will. So they're trying to influence your decisions, in other words, to your own demise and detriment. So it's all a system of influence. It's all a system of perception and influencing perception, influencing thought streams. And to influence them, you have to flow into them. So they're always trying to give you the impression as though they have, or they're always trying to lead you to believe that they have influenced you or violated you in this manner. But they can't. So what are they trying to do ultimately? They're ultimately trying to climb on top of your mind. Spiritually conquer you. Annoyance, violence, sadness, depression, they're all demons. It's a spirit that they serve and that they are. That's what they are. So all of those lesser spirits, all of those base elements, spiritual elements, are trying to conquer you by perception. It's all perception. All of it. Because it's a battle of the mind, and the mind is the site of perception. And most people think they came from an ape. They don't even know they have a mind. They think they just have a brain in their skull. They don't even know that the mind is spiritual. So they're already at a disadvantage. And demons only exploit disadvantage. That they don't actually have an advantage. They exploit disadvantage and try to cause it further. They're pathetic. So again, while you're walking through the pigsty, don't expect to get anything of value from the pigs. Blessings in Jesus' name.